Administration was talking about shifting this campus from Lal Chowk. How did you react to that?
Well, we did not react, the society reacted.
Okay.
All our parent body and our management went to the government and requested them that it was a very big public issue. I always felt that I am a part of Kashmir, so I must face what Kashmir faces. So that is how I think my life was spent in these difficult times also. We send our children, we encourage our parents to send the children for skiing in Gulmarg, because that's the time when there is a possibility of that. Physically, I was most touched when our Tangmarg branch was burned down. I was very unhappy. I personally feel that local languages are very important to be given their due. But the main thing that influenced them was that the condition of people who lived here was very pathetic. There was no education. There was a rule of power from above. If you have a commitment, you will have struggles.
When we talk about legacy schools in Kashmir, Biscoe and Mallinson School has a long history. The Educational Institute has been instrumental in imparting quality education for decades. Today, we have a very special guest. We are here to talk about the legacy of this school with Director, Biscoe and Mallinson Educational Society, Mr. Parvez Samuel Cole. We are very happy and thankful that they have joined us on this special occasion. Without wasting any time, I will pose some of the questions to Mr. Parvez Samuel Cole. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sir, I would like to begin by asking what was the idea which laid the foundations of this school?
You see, Burhan, in the years of 1850s onwards, British missionaries had been coming into the valley of Kashmir. There were other missionaries, Germans, Moravians, etc. The main thing that influenced them was that the condition of people who lived here was very pathetic. There was no education. There was a rule of power from above. There was, health problems, medical problems of tremendous volume. This influenced the Church Missionary Society London to start sending missionaries with an aim to bring up the society. Not only education is a later thing. First they came to make the society a little more comfortable as much as they could do. So that was the main idea behind coming in to work in Kashmir by the missionaries from England.
So how do you think, how successful has the institute been in imparting education in Kashmiri context?
You can see today that things are so different. I can, narrate that in the 1890s and 1900 years, the condition of the people was so bad. The medical science was also very in its infancy at that time. There were no antibiotics, there were no things like we have today, instant cures. So I know that the medical doctors that came here, they would taste the urine of the patient to check if there is a diabetic issue or whatever. In those days.
So was the pathetic condition
that
of
was
people.
The state.
Okay.
And today, by the grace of God and with the with the efforts of so many down the line, hundreds of people who have come and worked here, things are, I think Kashmir has come into modern times with much gusto, better than many other parts of the world and of our country also. So definitely there is a big success point, as I would say, that in these almost 150 years, the Kashmiri society has gained a great deal from the work of, devoted work of the people who have come and worked here.
So I'd like to talk about, the current practices of education today. In contemporary times, education and education system has changed. How do you see the current practices of education as of now?
First of all, education has been commercialized to a large extent. That's an unfortunate thing. People have more affluence, people have ability to afford gadgetry, mobiles, computers. People have the wherewithal, means to support transport in cars and all that. Biscoe's original, thought for this institution to be set up was to make a man, as the motto of the school itself says, in all things be men. And he defines men as the example of Christ, who lived as a perfect man, we believe, being Christian missionaries. So it is a great deal of difference from today. Today, when we have in our school the ideas of physical activity, ideas of, activities which strengthen the character. Now, you can't make a child climb up a mountain by any corrupt means. He has to use his leg power. That is what builds in that child the willpower, the character that he has to struggle himself, and he has to tax his own resources to reach that point. Similarly, swimming in the lake, for example, it's an endurance practice. How much a child can stand up to. So those are the values that we still value. Though the materialization has taken place, there's so much of materialism now. Children are, influenced by televisions, by modern electronic gadgetry, and so on, so on. But there is no substitute for physical well-being. We educate the child to remain fit, physically as well as mentally. Biscoe always said, a sound mind in a sound body. Without a sound body, you can't have a sound mind.
Sound mind, exactly.
So those are the values that really made these schools a little different from those which only they only concentrate on texts and facts and so on only. It is the physical that is attached to that, and that's what makes these institutions exclusive.
Okay. So as long as, as I was entering this institute, this institute has a very different vibe. I have myself been a student of this institute for more than a decade. So I have studied at different institutions after that. I've been to universities as well. I'd like to ask you, what makes this institute different in contemporary times? So many new schools have come up, but they are not matching the legacy of the schools. Why Biscoe?
I don't blame the present setup or the societal methods of today. because of the influence of money, the influence of affluence, and so on, so on. What I say is that when a child has to learn a scientific facts, let's say, if he is learning a scientific facts, he has to go deeper into the the reason behind that fact. Why science and technology have advanced in this world? Because they have thought of betterment of humanity.
Yes.
Betterment of humanity is, physical well-being, being able to, carry yourself in a safer, in a better manner, mobility, transportation, even electronic gadgetry, etc. Now, mobile phones, for example. You see, we do not allow mobile phones in the school even today. We say that this is a facility which you can use at home, and of course, in the last couple of years, a little more than that, due to the epidemic, the pandemic, the issue had become slightly different. Everything was through mobiles, and so use of mobile became more common. But now that the things have come back to normalcy in terms of physical education, physical school attendance, we are still very, very alert to the fact that it is the physical of the child that needs to be attended to more than the, text itself. The text is equally important. Education is very important in terms of facts of nature, the laws of nature. But behind that, the physical well-being of human being is the more important thing, and that's our aim here.
So what makes this school different is the co-curricular activities. So what are the co-curricular activities in 2022 that the Biscoe School offers to its students?
Starting from with the calendar year, let's say, as the school closes down in winter in December, we send our children, we encourage our parents to send the children for skiing in Gulmarg, because that's the time when there is a possibility of that. Now, you see, the world comes to Gulmarg, but very few Kashmiris come.
Very few Kashmiris.
Last year, we had because of COVID, I think, because children are fed up sitting inside, so most parents offered to train the children, us to train the children. And we had hundreds and hundreds, nearly 1,000 students who were trained in short groups, small groups in Gulmarg. We have our own facility and all skiing equipment there. So that's how we start. In March, then in the winters itself, we also send the children out to various excursions in the other places, maybe other countries also. And then the children come back to school in March. We start with the first activity, that is the cross-country run. You might have done it in your times.
A lot of time.
The children run from here right up to the Shankaracharya hilltop and come back. It's about 12 to 15 kilometers, depending on how far the bigger ones and the smaller ones go. Then we follow it up with the other activities that are co-curricular, quizzes, in the celebration of various days, in a very modern way. आजकल तो digital हो गया है सब कुछ, तो even during COVID we continued with those activities of having debates and quizzes and so on, science exhibitions and so on. Then later on in the year we add up the camps to our activities. The summer camps are held, and the children learn to trek in the mountains, You see, again, the same thing I'm saying, that it's the physical straining your body, which is a very important thing to keep fit. And followed by, then after the camps, we have the season for the Dal Lake. Children swim in the lake. We have Dal Cross and so on. Did you do any in your times?
I tried to be a swimmer, but at the end of the day, it's about putting efforts. But
Yes, I can
was quite,
understand not everybody picks up on it, but then majority of our students manage to learn these activities, and they are given the opportunity to learn this activity. Uh, Regattas, we have boating in the lake, and so on. Then, of course, academics doesn't take a back stage thing. It is at the same time kept up. The ethos here is that every child must get his due. It's not that I pick up a team for hockey or football or cricket and those 16 or 20 children are trained, and no. We give a chance to every child right from small age. You might have remembered that we have boys and girls in the lower primary at the age of about 4, 5, 6 years of age. They are lined up to the swimming pool and made to learn those activities right from that time. And everybody in the class, not a selected few only. This is the main difference. Camps are attended by most of the students. Parents, of course, must cooperate. And wherever the parents cooperate, all these activities are attended by the children. So, Zabarwan climb is another one where the mountain provides such a big facility or opportunity for children to climb up to 12,000 or so on. So, these are the kind of activities that nothing can dilute these activities. Modernization or new education policy or whatever you call it, nothing will dilute it. These are activities that will remain. You see in developed countries, they don't use so much of cars and things.
they go on riding bicycles.
Yeah, they do more physical. So that is what our aim is.
Sir, you talked about giving every child a fair chance. That doesn't happen without taking everybody on board. You didn't talk about, children with special needs. The school, as of now, does not offer a facility for children with special needs. What's your take on that? How do you see that?
I do agree that we do not do much for the special need children. In fact, today's world demands that children with special needs ought to be trained by specially trained people. So we do not have that kind of a staff or teachers to take care of that. But on the other side, I would say that all other needs of the society we try to meet. We give lakhs and lakhs of rupees worth of concessions to economically weaker sections. We give for mild abnormalities in children, we take care of that. That is detected right at the lower primary level. We have, that is why we have 2 teachers in each class to observe these abnormalities. If anybody is found with a special need, we generally recommend to the parents that they should try and take the help of a specialized school meant for these kind of things. But of course, our new education policy talks of every school having this kind of facility. So I believe for our future, approach, for example, in our Kashmir Valley School, where we have had a chance to build a new building for the +2 section, we have provided a ramp, for any child coming in a wheelchair, you see, and that is a first step, you can say. And also we keep our teachers some teachers we reserve as counselors for those who are otherwise needing special help. More than that, at the moment, I would admit that we do not have much of special education for specially abled children.
You have been a principal of this institute for more than 3 decades. So, what are the changes that you made during your tenure?
Yes, answer to that question of yours, that what have we achieved in the last 35 years or more, I can simply say this, that when I joined in 1985, all the schools, especially the private schools in the valley, were only up to 10th class level. There was no +2 anywhere. And that was one of the first steps that we took. I joined in 85, and by 86 we had started the class 11 and 12 program in these schools. It was almost the same time followed by the IT revolution, you see, because computers started coming in. I think we were the first school to have compulsory computer education in lower classes. You see, in the year 87, 88 and so on. At that time, no other school offered this subject. But we were fortunate enough to get some help from, in those days, an IIT used to be here. And so many other agencies which carried, we set up a completely new IT system in our school. Following that, we had then in the year 2003, my son had to return from New York. He was studying in USA. He had to return from there because 9/11 happened in New York. He was in New York only with my sister. And after completing his studies, he said, it's no difference there or here, so I will rather join in helping this school come up. And he has been responsible for bringing in a new system of management in this school, which was based on human resources development pattern and management information system, MIF, technology involved in that. So we have all kind of facilities in the schools. We have over 500 computers sitting here on this campus itself. We have our own communication system with the 4 schools that we have. We have our own towers, and they communicate among one another. And so that is a very helpful thing. In about 15 minutes, whether you are sitting in Tangmar, whether you are sitting in Humhama or in Shekhbag, our school attendance, both of staff as well as students, is digitalized immediately as soon as the school starts. So those kind of modern steps. We had to introduce new laboratories at a higher level because +2 was introduced in the 80s. And so all these things have been new addition. Apart from that, infrastructure, buildings, like campus care and so on. So many other new ideas have been introduced.
So, how much has the role of students increased over the last 3 decades?
When I joined here, these schools, Tyndall Biscoe and the Mallinson School, combined strength was a little over 1,800 students. And today, all our 4 schools have more than 7,500 students.
That's a huge number.
That is why. Yes, we had to add a section. We had to, of course, we added +2. That also added to our numbers. But you see, especially in the context of Kashmir, because in the year 1989 and onwards, things became very difficult here. So it was thought by our management that the it was better for a child, a growing child, to be inside the school than outside. Similarly, for teachers, young men, women, you see, militancy had affected the social atmosphere so much that it was considered better that these people are inside the school. So we took a little more, maybe 5% more teachers than we really needed. Our support staff, Malis and all the sheikhs, we took 5-10% more of them, supported them through jobs here. So that helped in, keeping them away from diverting their minds to unnecessary things. So this is all that major things that have been done in the past 30 odd years. And we're quite satisfied with what is happening.
When I was a student back in 2010, the school did not offer courses in arts and commerce subjects for 11th and 12th classes. So has there any progress been made on that?
I would like to first explain why we did not have arts and commerce in our schools. To begin the +2 classes was quite an effort, because children were running away to tuition centers way back in 85, 86, 7, etc. And, any amount of coaxing them to stay on after 10th class did not impress them, because they wanted to run to the so-called college professors of those times. So what I did was that there was one master with us, Master Satlal Razdan, who had been a millennium teacher. We awarded him with that in 2000. And I took him along, and we went to the children's homes and to the professors that were teaching them in the coaching classes. And we told them that, why don't you take 300 of them and teach them here inside the school, we'll pay you accordingly. And they agreed. So that is how our +2 section was started. At that time, we did a lot of study, and we found that there was hardly any takers for humanities and commerce at that time, in 85, 87, and so on, so on. And so therefore, it was started in science streams of medical and non-medical. But now we feel that though other schools have tried to introduce commerce and humanities, we still find that even those schools have not been very successful, except for some government institutions like Kotibag and all that. But I would say that our management has taken a decision a few years ago.
Okay.
That is what I was mentioning to you, that in Kashmir Valley School we have built a whole big 4-story building for, conduct of +2 classes, and there we are because of that, and here we are starting commerce and humanities from the next session.
So what will be the number of students that will, that the school will allow to take these subjects?
We can't
It's going
say.
to be a thin number, I think.
We can't say. This is what I said, no? That the demand for those subjects is very little still. And although I know that children are aware, parents are aware, that these subjects are more promising now. We have no dearth of doctors and engineers, but we do need to support these subjects in the schools. So we'll try our best to take in as many as offer these subjects in the 11th and 12th class. We'll of course start with 11th class next year, and let's see what happens. We have the facility to provide them 1 or 2 full sections of these classes only.
So do you have the requisite infrastructure for that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
We built the centenary block of Mallinson School. We rebuilt the many areas of Tyndall Biscoe School, and now we are building. We have made a new building in Tangmarg. Even in that area, we need to start +2. So Yeah, inshallah.
Sir, there's a lot of talk going on around the national education policy, 2020. There are talks about being how it's going to be implemented. What is your take on that? How do you see NEP 2020?
Burhan, my management and the society, we run over 20 schools in the three states of Punjab, Haryana, Punjab, Himachal and Jammu and Kashmir. I have this to say that national policy is being studied still by most of the schools. That is my impression. The system, of course, talks of indigenizing it and lessening the Western influence a little bit by language, local language being promoted and so on, so on. And of course, the first 5 years in the lower group and then clubbing the 6 to 8 to 12 together. So this will, I think it's an experiment which will work out well. We have not yet tried it, but as soon as it is implemented, it will be a good study in experimenting the whole idea. I personally feel that local languages are very important to be given their due. But at the same time, we have not to forget our international, the world is a big village today. So you cannot be in the shell of your own region so much. So those things, of course, they say that English should be taught as a subject. A medium of instruction should be local, So it's a good idea to my mind. Medium of instruction, आज कौन सा English है? You see, you have experienced your school times, and how much foreign language did you speak? Though the medium of instruction in the school was English, the teacher taught in English, but home and all other influences are there, and they should not be reduced, definitely. Culture develops through your own language. That's a very important area to think about.
So do you think anyway, government is trying to, interfere too much into the educational institutes, how affairs in the private educational institutes work? For example, when they say that you have to teach in the local language, or for that matter, you have to sideline the English language. So do you think that the government is interfering too much in the affairs of mission schools?
Anything which is suggested can be made into a success story. Just the main thing is people should be sincere about it. Promoting Kashmiri, why not? I mean, in Kashmir University itself, I will give the example of Punjabi. Punjabi was, introduced in the, when I was a student, it was introduced then. That is in the 50s, 1950s. But today, Punjab has universities in Punjabi, and so much, research work and literary work has been done in that language that it has come up in Punjab so nicely. But in Kashmir, we do not even have the dialect. We don't even have this. We have the dialect. We don't even have the script. अभी तो उर्दू में हम लिखते हैं जो कुछ लिखते हैं. That's hardly readable because the talaffuz is so different. So yes, those things will have to be developed sincerely. If we have to implement the new education policy, we will all have to, like anything else, education will also have to be taken a little bit more seriously and sincerely. Just now, I find that we are not up to the mark in those areas.
So talking about the academics, academic performance of this institute, going back a decade or 2 decades for that matter, the number of meritorious students and those position holders, the number was too high. But nowadays, 3 decades down the line, the number of meritorious students, it has come down. How do you react to that?
Maybe when you
there's a lot of competition. How do you react to
I
that?
would say that maybe in the 80s, the meritorious number was 20. Say in the state merit list, our 20 students came in. Today also the same numbers occur. The problem is that the volume of students has increased, so you are thinking that it should have, simultaneously also gone up accordingly, maybe become 50 or 60 in the merit list. But when you talk of overall achievement of the school, I think our results have been nearly more than 95-97% all along, which is the more important thing. And in that, the higher graders are but very few low graders. So I don't think that merit really, what appears in the paper in positions, makes any difference. That is why in the new policy, they do not have a merit list. They want to give a grade system, and that's all. And my son did his graduation from New York, CUNY, the Central University of New York, and he was graded there, not given a specific, merit position or anything like that. A, B, C, D, वही चलता है. So that's how it should. Overall performance of students should be good, and that will be our aim always.
Do you think that there's a need to do away with the position system? The need to inculcate this grade system into our education system.
According to Tyndall Biscoe's philosophy, ethos, you see, he would give the best prize to the last in the class. In Dull Cross, the one who finished last of all, he was the most important child for him. Similarly, in the classes also, he never gave much importance to those things. There is I don't know if you have had a chance to look at it, there is a 1920 report card of our student, 1920, set up in Biscoe's times. And that pays attention to the mind, that means the subjects, the body, that means the physical activities, and soul. And soul is given the highest rank, 4,500 marks out of 10,000. You see, the others were divided 3,000 or 1,500 for the other things. But soul was given, the character, the humanism, the truthfulness, all these things were given importance. So, well, it's a
Do you think in the race sorry to interrupt you, do you think in the race for, coming first, we are losing, ground for morals and values and ethics?
Yes, that rat race is in the world. It's everywhere. And that is what has been degrading the world overall system. We still give Nobel Prize for scientific discoveries and all that. Huh? And what did Nobel do? He produced dynamite. You see, and we worship him with Nobel Prizes. And look what devastation dynamite has caused in the world today. So it all depends on how we use it or misuse it. Whatever is the ability of a human mind, it must be kept for the benefit of the neighbor. Love your neighbor as yourself. And that is the message that any good institution can give to its students. Nothing more than that. If you love your neighbor as yourself, that means whatever behavior I am showing to you, I should feel that it's not something what I will show to myself. So those are the values that these schools really stand for.
Struggles that you have faced, being the principal of this institute for 35 long years.
Well, life is a struggle. For anybody to say that his life is totally free of any tensions or if you have a commitment, you will have struggles because you will want the your point of view to be, expressed and given to the public. But then you will always have mixed reactions. So it is not, struggles have been. Physically, I was most touched when our Tangmarg branch was burned down. I was very unhappy. Even before that, I would say that one of our staff members died here for no reason or something, just a mild sickness, and she died. That was another time that I was really having a low feeling. The fire in Tangmarg was unnecessary, and we are grateful to God that we have come out of it. We have built the new structure there in concrete. Militancy, somehow I did not feel that difficulty with, to be honest. I always felt that I am a part of Kashmir, so I must face what Kashmir faces. So that is how I think my life was spent in these difficult times also. We have struggles in education. We have, the level of our teachers, our human resource must go up a little. And for that, I feel that we could do a little more. And that's we've been struggling with all this while. That is why we have set up the Human Resources Training Department. We have set up, our, and in these days, of course, IT, digital, COVID was a big struggle in itself for everybody. So I won't think that particularly I felt very overawed by these events. But then human mind is always, thinking mind, and you do get affected when issues come up in a big way. So sometimes they have come up, and we have tried to overcome them, and I'm glad that so far we have succeeded.
So talking about difficulties and difficult time periods, 2014, was very difficult. Kashmir was hit by unprecedented floods. But unfortunate part was that, the school was caught in the midst of all that, It was deluged for a very long period of time, Infrastructure damages, other damages, students couldn't attend the schools. How did you cope up with all that 8 years down the line?
To tell you the truth, we were about 50 people on the campus. Some people had come in from the near neighborhoods whose, homes have been shattered because of the floods and all that. And so we were looking after about 50 people. But I tell you that it was like a camp.
Okay.
You see, we did not feel the awe of it. It was not fearful at that time because we took the challenge. Can you imagine that when the floods had gone and there was 1 foot of mud all over, slush, my own teachers and staff, the support staff, they left their homes and they came to clean the school. So that was a very, very happy occasion actually. I felt very encouraged. Plus our support from our management was big support because all the way from Amritsar, our chairman, he brought a team of people. He used to, they fixed a supply line with the Spice Jet in those days. They could, every day they could send 100 kilograms of rations free, on the flight.
Okay.
So that was a big help. So we were able to help the neighborhood here, and so many, people took advantage of that, could be helped at that time. But then it was for everybody, and we came through it. We had a big loss in terms of our infrastructure because school remained deluged for over 21 days. and that was a very big loss. But slowly over the years, we have overcome all that, and you can see it today.
Yes. It's looking beautiful than ever before, I would say.
Well, that's God's grace. God's grace.
So talking about these difficult situations, we were recently hit by a COVID wave. How did you manage to get online, and how did you even manage, difficult situation, unprecedented situation?
We must thank the militancy.
Oh,
You see, right from the year 2006, 8, 10, 12, you know how summers were literally closed here, otherwise also, before the floods. And we had developed, I told you that when we developed the Human Resources Center, we also developed the IT center here. And that tower you can see up there, you see, that tower is one of our communication towers between the schools.
this is property of the school?
Yeah, of course, it's our
marvelous.
school tower. We connect with Humama, we connect with this hub, which is in the, I think in the industrial area that is there, Kunumu, okay, and we connect with Tangmarg on those. So with the help of these and other, you see, we were able to continue communication work. In fact, our communication system, perhaps people tell us, was the best among the whole of schools, all schools, even from other offices, because we had all this facility with us. So it helped. IT has been developed over a very large, in a very big way over the last 20 years or so. So that is why we were able to communicate. Teachers were very supportive, parents were very supportive, and so they paid heed to the children because children were in their custody.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had a very good experience and we learned a great deal. In fact, today the communication system is much better than before the COVID. Before the COVID, everything was written, sent out, this, that. You see, today everything is on mobiles and computers, and instant communication is there. So we have actually gained from that, gained much from that in terms of delivery of education.
There was some years back, there was talks about shifting this campus. Administration was talking about shifting this campus from Lal Chowk. How did you react to that?
Well, we did not react, the society reacted.
Okay.
All our parent body and our management went to the government and requested them that it was a very big public issue and 7,000 students here cannot be displaced in a jiffy like that. So, and they agreed. And then they changed the smart city project plans to involve us, to keep us included. Earlier they had thought of shifting the schools, but fortunately it was not done.
Okay. Sir, at last I could like to ask you have a lot of teaching experience and experience of being the principal of such a great institute for over 3 decades. I would like to ask you about your, what advice would you like to give to future teachers? There are so many of them studying hard. What would you like to tell them?
Well, I can say that, of course, I'm experienced, having been in the line for over 50 years. But the thing is that the society here, Kashmiri society, has taught me. The level of tolerance I find with the Kashmiri people in so many areas is better than anywhere else. I have worked all over the country, and I therefore feel that whatever I can advise is only what I have learned from being here for the last 3 decades or more. As I said, we must aspire for excellence further. Our levels are okay, but they are okay from the valley point of view. But I am on the board of so many schools outside, bigger schools and small, and I find that many schools are way ahead of our schools because they have the openness and the possibility of getting that opportunity to develop further. IT, I think we are better than anybody else, but in terms of the general level of education, the general level of teachers in the classes, that needs to come up. So, as I said, that sincerity of purpose is a very important thing. Sincerity of purpose, as our teachers depict here. As I told you, that they are in the camps with children for over 3 weeks or 4. They jump in the Dal Lake along with the children. Those kind of sincere efforts will pay a great deal. And I think as the time passes, lesser and lesser people are opting for a tough life in that sense, because it's very physical. But then if they do that, first of all, they'll keep themselves fit, you see, and secondly, they will benefit the society. The children will learn from them so much. That's our hope.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure joining you, sir.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank our viewers as well for joining us on this special interview with Mr. Parvez Samuel Cole, Director, Tyndall Biscoe and Mallinson Educational Society. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.